Hey, scrappy people, it's Traci Reed here today, coming at you with a really neat layout using my Adventures Together collection with Studio Basic Designs. And you can see I'm moving through this really fast because I'm not gonna lie, it took a long time and it's a lot of repetition. But you can see that I have a geotag cut out of just regular printer paper here, and I am adhering labels to it to begin with. And my whole idea here is to create a collage, a collage out of these embellishments on the left hand side in the shape of a geotag. And there were many ways that I could have done this, but I chose to do the most hands-on way, basically. Instead of using my silhouette, I didn't even cut out the geotag with my silhouette. I just printed it in outline format on a piece of paper and hand cut it because I wanted the whole thing to look very, not necessarily organic, because obviously it's going to be in a shape and it's going to be trimmed along the edges so that the shape is almost perfect, but I wanted it to just be an exercise in using my scissors and my hands and not using technology, because I rely on technology a lot, and so I wanted to do things the old-fashioned way, I guess. So my thought process behind layering all these embellishments is, one, to spread out the color so that the colors aren't all clumped together, and two, to make sure that there's no real empty space. It's okay if there's some white showing through, but I really want everything to be really well clustered so that there's not a whole lot of empty space. So what I'm doing is I'm starting with my largest elements and working my way into smaller elements. So you can see that that meant that I used the title and the large heart, the postage stamps, the large arrows, the geotag, and then I worked my way into smaller word strip embellishments. And now I'm doing things like shoving the flower behind word strips so that we're covering up some background space. And what this does really is it creates multiple obviously layers, but it creates multiple levels of depth on this geotag. If I was not layering things and just like making sure that nothing really touched, it wouldn't give it as much dynamic movement as if I am adding things under other things and somewhat covering up, like I just did this yellow heart got kind of sort of covered up. So it just looks like there's a lot of different levels to this collage. Well, there are a lot of different levels to this collage that makes it more interesting to look at. And of course, I don't want to lose the geotag shape. So what I'm going to do is all of the excess around the edges, I'm just going to trim when this geotag is pretty much full, which is now. So I felt like there was a couple of spaces that I could add a little bit more to, and I have these white hearts that were actually the inside of a one of the viewfinder reels included in the collection. And when my silhouette cut out the viewfinder reel, I had all of these little white hearts left over. So I'm actually making them gray with a stamp pad and very scientifically pushing them down with my scissors and these tweezers so that my fingers don't get gray. And then I'm going to use some liquid glue and adhere them to some of the blank spots, and also in the same process rearrange some of the other hearts, because I felt like the other hearts were a little bit they were a little harder to work with in this shape. I'm not quite sure why, but I struggled with the colorful hearts just a little bit. So I'm going to make sure that everything is arranged nicely so that I don't know, I just want to be happy with these hearts. So they got rearranged a bit. You can see I have a little bit of space right there on the right hand side. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to put there. I'm going to put the edge of this arrow there. I don't know why I chose that, but it adds just a little bit of stripe to the outside edge. And then I'm going to add this floral to the inside edge as well. So I'm going to just finish trimming this up, and of course trimming inside that circle is the hardest part. So I finished that and it looks great and exactly how I wanted it to look, but when I put it on the white paper, it was a little bit boring to me and I didn't know what to do. So I'm going to move over to the right hand side of the layout first. I'm going to put this side in a page protector, and so it's a little bit less wide than the left hand side. And I'm going to create this collage over this empty space I have in my photo. Obviously, the photo, or this portion of the photo with the gray wall, is kind of cool, but in the foreground it's pretty blurry because it's focusing on us in the background. And so it's a perfect place to put something like a title or a embellishment cluster like I'm putting here. And so that's what I decided to do. I have these tags from everything that I've used in this video so far, except for that gray stripe paper, has been from the sticker collection for the Adventures Together collection, the sticker sheets. So there's a lot of sticker sheets in that, or a lot of stickers on the sticker sheets in that collection. Okay. I've got that sort of started. I'm going to put this last word strip here. And then what I end up doing is I end up turning off my camera and thinking about it for a little bit because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So the first thing I did when I came back was I decided I was going to put this paper in the background, and it's obviously both colorful and neutral. There is a sort of a rainbow of watercolor built into the paper, but the paper itself is still pretty neutral. It's black and white, and it's a good way to make the background neutral still, but not boring like the white paper. I felt like it wasn't really standing out on the white cardstock. And of course, because my Traveler's Notebook size papers come in exact Traveler's Notebook size, they're a little bit too small for the Life Crafted album perfect size, like the full page size, if I'm not going to use a page protector. So I had to piece these two together, which I included in the Traveler's Notebook papers, both of those sides of that one single 12 by 12 paper, so that you could do that. So it worked out perfectly. And you can see now that the geotag stands out a lot better on this background than it would have on the white. So I'm going to adhere it up a little bit towards the top because I'm going to put some journaling strips down at the bottom. And once I have this adhered down, I still feel like it's just a little bit boring. Like, how could something so clustered and busy feel boring? But I felt like it was just not quite what I was envisioning. So I'm going to tie some string to these tags while I think about what I'm going to do. And while I'm tying these strings, I resign myself to the fact that yes, I am going to get out my sewing machine. My sewing machine and I have a love-hate relationship, mostly hate. I can sew, but I am such an impatient person that I long ago resigned myself to having a very specific aesthetic when it comes to stitching, and that is messy. I even made a whole product line of digital stitching called Bad Sewing Machine, so it is definitely my thing to go with messy stitching, and that is what I'm going to do. Also, when I commit fully to messy sewing machine stitches, it just takes the perfectionism out of it for me and makes it a lot easier for me to commit to actually using the sewing machine. So you can see that this is some messy sewing, and we are going to go all in with the messiness. I have all this excess thread from sewing multiple lines on that geotag, and we are going to go with it. We're going to adhere some messy string clusters to a few different places on this layout as well. And you can see that while it may not be everybody's particular aesthetic, I really love the way that this worked out with the whole mixed media vibe of that background as well. So because I've got a lot of stamping or digital stamping going on that background, the whole messy clumpy vibe here with the string and the stitching really works. And we're just going to go all in and add in some staples as well, especially since that page is going to be outside of the page protector. So we want to make sure that this string sticks down, and glue may not actually cut it very well. So I'm going to add this clump over to the left hand side for some balance. I could have covered up some of those starts and stops with the string up higher, but I decided that I was going to leave those there. Again, it just adds to the whole messiness of the thing. And I'm going to add one more clump underneath this tag because it gives me 3 places of string and 3 visual. Those are some strong visuals that will move your eye around the page really well, but that was way too much string, so I'm going to use a little bit less. I'm going to stick it right underneath this tag, and it's sticking to the adhesive that I used to stick down the tag, so I don't have to worry about it too much. Add some staples for matchiness. There we go. Okay, so I've got 3 clumps of string. I'm going to trim it, give it a little haircut. And now this is really coming together in a way that makes me super happy. So I'm going to print out my journaling on just some regular old white paper, 2 little strips of journaling. And then when I adhere this down, I feel like it's still not done. How is that even possible that this layout needs more? But you can see when I put this down, it creates some weird trapped space on the left-hand side. I could have left it as it is, but you know that I'm a perfectionist and this trapped space was really bothering me. So I noticed that on my desk, I actually have some washi tape that is chevron, that is from Cocoa Daisy, and so I'm trimming out this washi tape to be in a chevron shape. So I trimmed along the actual pattern, and I think that this is perfect because not only does it add in some movement with those arrows that matches the movement in the geotag, but it also adds in the black from the string and from my shirt up in the top corner. So it just kind of grounds the whole thing perfectly, adds in that last little pop of something that this page needed, and I really, really love it. And it's really fun for me when I have an idea that doesn't quite look the way I thought it was going to look when I started, and it almost feels like a problem-solving adventure when I am trying to make my original idea work. And so this was a whole big problem-solving, like a big puzzle that was fun to put together and make work, because I really had envisioned that geotag as something very specific, and when it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be, figuring out how to fix it was just like, it's so fun for me. I love problem solving, so it works for me. So I'm going to add this last little bit of tape up to the top left-hand corner of the right-hand side, and then that last tiny bit that I have, I'm actually going to add to the right-hand side of the spread and aim it back towards the other side just as a little counterpoint to the original. And that will be it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Traci M. Reed. I will leave a link in the description box below to the Adventures Together collection. Thank you.